didn't mind this, but I've had to learn this lesson myself over and over and over and over
And over.
and over. So one example, there was 2008, 2009, it's a very interesting time in our lives. We ended up traveling full time, not because we're so wealthy and successful, because it's what we could afford to do and we couldn't afford a mortgage anymore. Right? Anyone ever been there?
We did choose that because we did choose that.
Yes. So we sold all of our.
Moved into an apartment and both got full-time jobs and stopped homeschooling our kids.
Right. It was a choice. We bought a 1973 Airstream travel trailer. Ooh, those are so cool. For $4,500 because we sold all our furniture. Wow, you got a great deal. I'm like, in retrospect, I might have overpaid. Well, let's just say I know how to fix some things on an Airstream I did not ever, ever, ever want to know how to fix. But if you don't have any money, you have to solve problems at a higher level. You understand what I'm saying? So one thing I was having problems with, it was trailer wiring. Now, anyone know like trailer wiring is in series versus parallel? You know, it's like you could have like 17 lights in a row, and if one was bad, you don't know which one. It's insane. So I had problems with the trailer wiring, and I had spent literally 3 full days crawling around underneath because I was like, I have to, I must, I should, I have to, I must, I should. You keep going. Does that make sense? Right? And like on the internet, on the YouTube, I'm like, God, so angry. And finally, I reached the end of my rope after 3 days because I'm a quitter. Right? Finally, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need a break because I was like this. I'm like, I need a break. So I'm like, I just gotta go for a walk. So I started going for a walk. Maybe 5 minutes into my walk, I went from this. I did this. I go, you know what, God, you can handle that. You can handle this. And when I went from this to you can handle this, instantly the diagram schematic of how to fix it ping, dropped into my consciousness like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I could have done that 3 days ago. You understand? So years later, because that did not teach me the lesson effectively enough. It was about a little over a year ago in the spring, I was insanely busy, helping people do things like they couldn't do on their own. And I actually had to figure it out on my own. But they couldn't figure it out on their own. So I had to take time out of my day to help them do things that they should be able to do. I think you should be able to do this on your own, but no, you got to take anyone ever get into that, right? And, but a couple of years ago, my wife had given me a journal, and it was a really high quality journal with a beautiful fountain pen. And I tell my clients all the time, you need a journal, not write down what you feel. Forget that. Tell your brain to look around in your life, what's good in my life, what am I doing well, and rewire your brain right? And it's also actually how I manifested this business, because I wrote in my journal for 3 days, I want to build something extraordinary. I can, I will, I am now. Anyways, a little bit of a long story, but the journal, the reason I liked it is because aesthetically it was pleasing. It was from Turkey. It had very, very thin, very high quality paper, really nice fountain pen, and it was aesthetically, I liked it, so it helped me do journal more. Does that make sense, right? But you had to put a piece of leather in between the pages and a piece of lined paper because the paper itself was too thin. But I found that if I didn't have a paper clip holding the piece of leather, that would fall out. It was just kind of like hard to, everything's falling out. But the paper clip was building a solution. I'm like, makes my life so much easier.
Like the big, like the wide one that was.
So it just held everything in place. We're getting to the point of story. I go visit my parents, and when I come back from visiting, I pull my journal out of my backpack, and the paper clip's gone. Well, no big deal. Get a new paper. No, this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I'm like, I do not have time. And stupid paper clip, Aaron. And it's like, anyone ever had one of those, like the last thing that pushed me over the edge? Right? Well, a few days maybe the next week or so, we were like, we need a break, right? So we drive about 3 or 4 hours to the coast in California to this little town called Shelter Cove, California. It's beautiful, tiny little idyllic coastal town. And in Shelter Cove, California, you have the black sand beach. 26 miles of black sand. Pristine, like you can hike for 3 days on the beach, right? Pristinely clean. No one was there. The weather was perfect. Everything is what my wife is taking a nap. I'm sitting there, finally getting back to timelessness, okay? And writing in my journal. And I'm sitting there and I look in the sand in front of me, about 2 feet in front of me on the pristinely clean black sand beach. Anyone have a guess of what's sitting in the sand? A paperclip, a black paperclip. Not my original paperclip. I found that later. A black paperclip sitting there. And you're like, okay. Like, you realize maybe even the small details of life, don't let them pull you out of timelessness, right? Like, oh, you should handle that on your own. Literally what would have happened when I couldn't find the paperclip, initially, if I had gone, okay, found myself stepping out of timelessness and gone from here to here. Now notice your spirit soul body want to go like this to this. If you do this, you'll feel in your physical body automatically the desire to take a deep breath as you use your physical body to shift your nervous system. Boom. Now, had I done that, what would have happened? Probably a still small voice would have said, well, you turn your backpack upside down and pump everything out. I'm like, oh, there's a paperclip because I found it. Like weeks and weeks later, I'm like, it was in the backpack. Of course it was in the backpack. I mean, like common sense would have said, oh, it's fallen off in your backpack. But I was too like, I didn't even think about that.
Why don't we all stand up? But look at Steve. Like imagine something or just remember a time when you felt that frustration and then just experience opening up. You guys feel that? Feel that?
So when I'm like this, I'm like, it's up to me. I have to, I must, I should handle it on my own because I'm an orphan. When I'm like this, I'm like, things work out for me. I'm not an orphan. Divine intervention, right? But how? I don't know how. It works out though. It's amazing watch, right?
So remember this next time you're feeling that. Just to change your physical posture is actually a super big clue on overcoming challenges that you're facing. Overcoming a mood, a swing, or overwhelm is this huge, huge, huge. Should we go into Superman while you're standing?
Well, here's actually you can sit down. I want to give you who would like to know the 4 simple steps to kicking depression and anxiety's butt?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Here's how it goes. When you experience a negative emotion, and by the way, what I'm going to teach you is like I had a client who would have 200 beat per minute heart rate anxiety attacks, put her in the emergency room. Right? Anyone else have higher than 200 beat per minute heart rate anxiety attacks? So here's what happens. In the US, all the Aussies are like those US people, they're kind of crazy, right? Well, we in the US, we know one thing, that you do not bring a knife to a gunfight. But that's common sense, right? Everyone understand that's a bad idea. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, okay? So most people, when they're trying to deal with depression and anxiety, they bring a knife to a gunfight. Here's why. Number one, when you experience depression and anxiety, typically you will allow that to tell you what you're worth. Oh, you're depressed, therefore you're worth less. Oh, you have anxiety. Oh, you're probably never going to beat that. You'll never reach your full potential, right? So you're stepping out of the selflessness, right? Your ability to handle the depression or the anxiety, it's trash talking you. Oh, Oh yeah, how many things have you tried to get rid of your anxiety? It's not worked. You're probably never gonna get rid of it. Oh yeah, and then you're gonna have a total meltdown in public, right? You're gonna be so embarrassing, right? So the first thing, step number one is to not let it put guilt and shame on you. Just observe it. How interesting. I'm feeling with this emotion. Set it aside, right? Number two, the main problem that people run into is when they experience depression and anxiety without noticing it, they allow their physical state, how you're standing, moving, breathing, to come into alignment and agreement with the depression and anxiety. I feel depressed, I do this. I'm anxious, this, right? The problem with that is that then your physical body starts pumping out biochemistry to support the original negative emotion, right? And the problem is like, oh, I have depression and anxiety. I'm going to try and be positive or be brave, right? But I'm trying to fight the negative emotion and the negative biochemistry with simple positive thoughts. And I'm bringing a knife to a gunfight. I'm going to get my butt kicked. And now there will be more guilt and shame because you tried to overcome it and you therefore, right? So you set it aside. Step one is you radically change your physical body, how you're standing, moving, and breathing, to be in alignment and agreement with the emotion you do want. And you allow that biochemistry to start helping support the emotions you do want, right? And then additionally, you can use words that you speak with your mouth. You can start journaling and training your brain what to look for, right? And if you do that, then you're bringing a gun to a knife fight, and you'll have tremendously, it will be tremendously easier for you. All right. So selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness. This is a really interesting one. So this has a lot to do with the emotion of frustration. And they'll never get frustrated. So the best way to describe effortlessness is you learn how to change your relationship with this emotion of frustration. Most people, when you feel frustrated, you take it to mean, what does it mean? I'm so frustrated. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to work out. I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know what the future looks like. What are you going to do? Well, I'm not a quitter, so I'm going to keep moving forward with the same mindset and same approach in frustration, right? What if this emotion of frustration, what if what it really is, it's like the voice prompt on your phone on GPS when you're going somewhere new, and all of a sudden your phone starts saying, make a legal U-turn. Make a legal U-turn. Why? You're going down the wrong road. That makes sense. You somehow you turn off the freeway and you're going down the four-wheel drive road. It's going to take you 4 hours longer, right? So if you can change your relationship with frustration, man, I'm so frustrated. What does it mean? It means, all it means is I'm doing it the hard way, and there is an easier way that I'm missing somehow, right? And then I start asking my brain a different question. How could it be easy? How could it be easy? This is actually one very interesting place to talk about how your conscious mind works, okay, in terms of processing information, because this is especially important in network marketing. Why? Because some people go, oh, I see this. There's no way it's going to work. No one will be interested. And another person goes, really? Sounded like 20 people this week. Like, you live in the same town I do. You're selling the same product. Like, what's the deal? So this has a lot to do with your brain to actually survive in life has to make shortcuts. Okay, what do I mean? So that information comes in, your brain compares it against your subconscious beliefs. Life is, I am, people are. And if the information coming in doesn't match it, your brain will either ignore it or pervert it to match it. Now to give you an extreme example of this, like I have a beard, right? If I shave without telling my wife I'm gonna shave, she's like, oh my God, why did you shave? I like your beard, right? If for some reason, and there are actually people like this, if her brain did not make shortcuts, I would shave and she would think there's a stranger in her home. That sounds crazy, but literally there are people like that. Oh, your spouse gets a haircut without telling you and they walk in the door and you sick the dog on them, right? You know? And everyone's like, that sounds crazy. Yeah, it sounds weird to you because your brain makes shortcuts. So how extreme can this be? I'll give you a couple examples. Researchers did a study and they said, we want people who think they're lucky and people who think they're unlucky. Okay? I'm not gonna ask anyone to raise their hands, but, oh, that works out for other people, but not for me. Oh yeah, they're good at that, but no one ever says yes to me. You understand what I'm saying? You make these assumptions about how things are gonna turn out for you. So they asked for everyone to come in. They're like, hey, so much for participating in the study. All we want you to do today, here's a newspaper, okay? And just sit down and read through the newspaper. Tell us how many pictures are in the newspaper. That's it, right? That sounds easy, right? But what the researchers did is they put two additional items in the newspaper. One that said, there's 43 pictures, you can stop counting now. The other one said, congratulations, you have won $250. Tell the researcher. Only the people who thought they were lucky saw those, right? And one of the things to understand is we're in the people business, okay? And your subconscious beliefs stunningly pervert the reality of your relationships and interactions with people, okay? For example, have you ever said or done anything that other people take to mean something you didn't mean at all, right? Raise your hand if that's happened to you. So what you know is other people have a screwed up version of reality, don't they? But not you. Right? The most extreme example I have is my oldest sister she had a tough marriage, a lot of guilt and shame, got divorced, moved to Hawaii, dealt with pretty significant depression. Why? Because she didn't think that other people thought that she was worth investing in for a relationship. And you need connections to survive. So she moves closer to me, so they start going to church with us. Now, I'm not very outgoing and friendly. In fact, plenty of people in my church probably thought I actively hated them when I didn't even notice them. Right? But my wife had introduced my sister to a lot of people over a period of months. One day after the service, I'm standing next to my sister like this. 3 people walk up to her and they all do the same 3 basic things. They acknowledge her, they affirm her, they invite her into deep relationship. Like, Samara, it's amazing to see you today. You're awesome. We should have coffee for some time. Love to get together with you, right? So I'm standing there, 3 people do that. 1, 2, 3. 20 minutes later, over our burrito for lunch, my sister says this to me. It's really hard to make connections with people at church. I was like, what planet are you living on? Because that's not what happens. That makes sense? It was for reality. 100% for reality. Now, some of you have a reality on how successful you be. What are people going to say? What are people going to do? How easy to build a business? Do you have what it takes? Are people have a problem with the price? Blah, 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 all this type of stuff, right? And I convinced my sister that her brain was lying to her and that she should view things differently. And a few months later, she was walking in the state park with her dog on a Tuesday. And she met some other ladies walking their dog on that Tuesday, and they invited her into a relationship. This time she saw it. And she accepted that invitation. And those women have been walking their dog every Tuesday and every Thursday in this small town in Texas for 20 years. They know everybody in town. by Christmas that year, my sister had a house full of people who loved her at her party. Boom. It was, the potential was always there, but she couldn't see it, right? So,
Yeah, I'd like you to take a moment right now to kind of think if you can identify an area where you feel the effort, you feel the frustration, and you acknowledge, oh, there might be a lie there. And just take a minute. I'm just going to have quiet for about 30 seconds. And we're going to let you invite a different reality into that thing. So you might find yourself imagining a different outcome, or you might just feel more open. It's just let it, let something come to you. It may show up actually in the next couple of days, but we're just going to open it up right now. So I'm just I was about to.
so again, frustration is the area where you go, think about that, and ask yourself a different question.
Awesome job, everybody. Feel free to come up and talk to us later if you had a cool moment with that.
Beautiful. Now, in the effortlessness, one of the things I want to talk about that's made a stunning difference in my own business is I've become very comfortable with abstraction. Okay, I want to explain this. Understand that your nervous system by default will despise uncertainty and unpredictability unless you change your relationship with uncertainty and unpredictability. What do I mean? Well, how's that going to work out? I don't know. We could be homeless. Like you steal the car right into the homeless ditch, right into the big tree. That makes sense? It's like, oh, so you didn't know how it would turn out. So you chose the homelessness. Why didn't you go, I have no idea how it's going to turn out. Maybe we could win the lottery. What, like, no one goes into the best case scenario automatically when they don't know, right? So one of the things, who's familiar with the book Power versus Force, David Hawkins? I have a feeling some of you, right? Now, this is a very interesting book, and in it, there's something called the map of consciousness, which quantifies different levels of consciousness. Now, we talk about being in force versus being in power, and on the map of consciousness, on level 400, there's the level of reason. Like, oh, you need to figure something out, right? Anyone have, you like to figure things out. How are we going to solve it? What's going to happen? What's the future going to be like? Okay. So on the level of reason, the God view is wise. The life view is meaningful. The emotion is understanding, but the process is abstraction. And that last word looks out of place. You're like, what? Like abstraction? Here's what abstraction is. Abstraction is seemingly disconnected and broken things coming together by divine order and timing to create something extraordinary. I'll say that again. Abstraction is seemingly disconnected and broken things coming together by divine order and timing to create something extraordinary. You cannot force or be 100% up to you to create that end result. You have to participate and receive it, right? So what happens then is you will need to very deliberately change your relationship with uncertainty and unpredictability. So it's very much it's a very visceral emotional thing, okay? It's like, how's that going to work out? And you have to go, I have no idea, but it's going to be amazing. See, why? Because I believe that there's a divine intervention available to me. And Anyone know that God's process in your life is not 5 sequential steps for the next 10 years, so you don't have to worry about anything anymore, right? it's like, who knows? But it's going to exceed my expectation, right? Now, when I do that, I can now perceive and grab a hold of the solution, right? Versus, oh my God, it's not going to work out. And this, like, because I allowed my relationship with uncertainty and unpredictability to, boom, shut me down. Okay. You have a million solutions walking past. You're like, didn't see it, didn't work out. You're like, there were 20 ways to fix it, but you couldn't see it because of you didn't do this. You were just in this. Okay. So, anything to add to that? All right. So this last one is richness. And this is a very, very interesting one. Because we're going to talk a little bit about your vision and versus goals, but I want to give you an example. Now, from what I hear is like the police here in Australia are fairly strict about following the speed limit. Is that accurate? Right. Okay. So imagine this. You're in a hurry one day. You're on your phone too, and all of a sudden you're getting pulled over by the police. Okay. Which is bad enough as it is. But then you realize you're probably doing 40 kilometers over the speed limit in a school zone. I assume they have school zones where you're like supposed to go slower in the school zone. Like you're like, oh, right? Are you stressed? This is really bad. Now, the police officer walks up to the car, and the first thing he says, he goes, "Denise, just want to let you know, just going to give you a warning today." What do? You're like, oh. Why? You're like, oh my goodness. Well, because you made some mistakes, you didn't do things the way you're supposed to do, but it's gonna be okay anyways. See? Right? And then he says this weird thing too. He goes, by the way, we have a very interesting community outreach program going on right now. Here's $100 Starbucks gift card. Coffee's on us this month. Have a great day. And you're like, something, a gift card to wherever you would really like. Okay, I don't care.
Actually, good Australian coffee.
Yes, right? Does that make sense? Like, here's a gift card. And you're like, what? It is so confusing, isn't it? Because you don't understand what you did to get it. You don't understand what you did to get it. Now, one of the most important things about flow is it helps you operate in mercy and grace. So the first thing was mercy, like I didn't give you the ticket, but you definitely deserved it, but you're not getting any consequences. And grace is like you're actually getting much more than you technically deserve. Okay, there's a certain emotion to that. Okay, one of the things to understand is this: is that if you having a clear vision for your business is vital. Okay, now I will tell you that I do everything I'm talking about I do with my personal coaching clients over and over and over again. So I'll often ask them, hey, Beck, what's your vision for your business? 100% of the time they will reiterate what their goals are. Okay, I'm like, love your goals. It's not a goal. That's not a vision though, that's a goal. So what is the difference? Okay, so a goal is, here's what I want to do. Part of operating in flow is this. You can operate in force or in power, or you can also describe it this way. When you're operating in force, you're allowing your current circumstances and environment to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, doing, and you can only react, and you're not a powerful person. And if you actually want to build something amazing, good luck, it's going to be hard. Okay. A vision, you realize you use your God-given imagination and accurate corresponding emotion to so clearly see and feel the desired end result with such clarity of detail and emotion that you allow that vision to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. And now you're a powerful person and you're in flow and you can create it. Okay. One of my favorite examples is a woman who's pregnant. Okay. So for example, if my wife, you know, we have 3 kids, she's pregnant with the first one, and she's obviously pregnant and very excited. And she says to me, honey, I love this baby. Anyone ever been there? You're like super pregnant, like painting the kid's room, everything, fine, whatever. She says to me, I love this baby. And I'm like, I don't see a baby. Where's the baby? I want to hold the baby, right? I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, okay, look, I get it. You can't hold the baby yet. But believe me, I have a baby. And I love the baby. I'm going to stay pregnant long enough until I give birth to the baby. Then we can both hold the baby. Yay! Right? So when we talk about a vision is to become pregnant with what you want. Okay. So it would be weird if she was super pregnant and had no emotion about it. And she went from 0 to 100 on the emotions when the baby was actually birthed, right? That'd be weird. Like, you weren't excited about the baby? Like, no, it's a total surprise. Where'd this kid come from? So you want to make sure that as a powerful person who's operating in flow, that you have such a clear vision for what you want to create with corresponding emotion. Okay. And you allow that to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing, then you can give birth to it. Okay. So here's one thing to understand is like, you want to build a business. How many of you want to build a big business? Right? You want to build a big business because you think you will feel a certain way about your life when it shows up. If you're pregnant, you already have many of those emotions already because the vision of having it is so clear. You know, see what I'm saying? It's like you're allowing the vision to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. And I'll tell you one thing, you have a clear vision. That's one thing you do amazing at on your team is like the vision. Why? If I have clarity for the future, it will give me power in the present. I can overcome any obstacle in my way. Why? Because I know who I am, where I'm going, how we're going to get there.
Yeah, so right now, why don't you turn to potentially a different person than you turned to before? And I want you to tell them how you feel when you reach the rank of diamond. For example, if you're actually wanting to build an income with this and to build a big business, then a lot of times the goal people are going for is diamond. And so I want you to take a minute. What do I feel? Or and if you're already diamond, you have to, raise that bar. Yeah. But I want you to just take a minute and actually think, what would I truly feel if I'm already diamond, if I'm getting that income that's a full-time, legit, very respectable income? You have the flexibility with your time that you wanted. You've had the impact on people's lives that you wanted. You have a big active team. So I want you to take a second, sit with that for about maybe 5 or 10 seconds.
Here, one thing to add though is like, if you have a clear vision, I could go, awesome. So what are you wearing in your vision? What do you hear? Can you smell anything? Right? What do you see around you? You're like, oh, I'm at this dinner with my friends, I'm having an amazing week, and all these business people. I realize I'm doing meaningful work, meaningful pay, I have fun things planned for the weekend, and my physical, right? It's like clarity, like real clarity. Yeah.
Do it.
You gotta go. You got it? No.